All right, Leeds United fans, hope you're all doing fantastically well. Here it's Connor. We're back at HQ and we're doing another video in the international break, which can be extremely boring. Please make sure you're slapping a like on the video. Make sure you comment and subscribing, as always, and making sure you're sharing to your friends, your family, all that good stuff. We are sponsored by IPM Group UK for all your CCTV needs, your surveillance needs. Get in touch with Rick and the gang. Keep it within the Leeds United space, of course. The community, everybody. Don't go afar. Don't be going to all these corporate conglomerates. Keep it within the Leeds United community. Link in the description below. Today, I wanted to do reasons and a blueprint as to why my team and your team, Leeds United, will get promoted this season. I want a little bit of positivity. I want an injection into that leg of mine of serum, which gets me excited again about Leeds United. Now, listen, I'm not downbeat. I'm not completely beaten, but we had to analyze the game at the weekend. This is what football fan channels are all about. Your reactionary. That is the MO, the USP. That's what we have to do. So unfortunately, at the weekend, there was a lot to dissect. Post-weekend, there's been a lot to dissect when it's come to certain personnel, Farke's decisions, January transfer decisions potentially looming. But today, I wanted to get into a few reasons as to why, if and how, Leeds United will get promoted. So straight off the back, everybody, we are fifth in the division, 9 games played, 4 wins, 4 draws, and 1 loss. So let's not panic, obviously. In fact, I'm going to tell you exactly why I think that's not a big problem. But what I will say just off the bat, to give a little bit of context, I think if Leeds United carried on with this form, I think you do have to take into consideration that it would be difficult for Leeds United to hit in the top 2. You know, you're barely hitting 2 points per game if you've got 9 games and 4 wins and 4 draws. What you need to be doing, obviously, is hitting your stride a little bit more. You might need to be looking at 6 or 7 wins in there instead. So that definitely needs to improve with Leeds United if you're to really constructively criticise what Farke needs to be getting out of this side. There's also the caveat that we haven't won yet against any of the teams in the top 10. Obviously, that includes Norwich, it includes West Bromwich Albion, Burnley, Sunderland, and one other that I can't quite remember. But still, that is the caveat to this. Leeds need to start beating some of the teams in that top level as well. And there's excuses as to why we haven't, but ultimately, we haven't yet. That's what needs to be improved 100%. How will Leeds get promoted? It's injuries. You know, I think a lot of it is certain personnel staying fit. I think we need that. We know that there's certain players who are really, really getting close to that fine line. And with Sheffield United coming up, Gus Hamer on 4 yellow cards and Chris Wilder resting him for their game at the weekend against Luton for evidently the Leeds United game. Leeds need to be careful with certain personnel. I believe it's Jadon Bogle, Joe Rodon, William Yonto, who I believe are all on 4 yellow cards. And obviously you get the 5th and you get that suspension. So Leeds have to be careful with that. That's the first thing. The second thing is injuries throughout the season. Leeds need to be a little luckier with injuries. Now, for the first 3 or 4 games, it was amazing. Leeds United were having player after player after player fit. It was Leeds had more players fit. I remember that Portsmouth game. It was everybody was fit. You know, the preseason game, everybody was fit. So getting to that point where you've got so many players who are injured, Dan James, Manor Solomon, Alai Gruev, Ethan Ampadu, Max Verber, it's just the squad's littered with injuries at this moment in time. So the worry would be if a Strout got injured. The worry would be if a Rodon got injured and or suspended. That would be the problem, because I feel for a chunk of games, you don't want that. I don't think that would be good at all for Leeds United. So you need to keep players fit. I think that's the big thing that Leeds need for this season. We look at the Marcelo Bielsa season when we went up. There was a real consistency with that back line. You look at your Ben Whites, your Liam Coopers, etc., Alioski. There was a real consistency with that back line. And throughout the side, really click playing a monumental amount of games. Pat Bamford seemed to be a little bit injured here and there, but Jack Harrison was fit every single game. So it's keeping the core of that side and the quality of that side fit. Farke's magic touch. What can he do? Well, I think with Farke, the jury is still out on these substitutions. Especially after the Norwich game, which for me, we should have won the game. We should have won the game, and it was his substitutions. I felt that killed it a little bit. I didn't feel that when they had Doyle, Duffy, McLean all on their last legs. Just because we've got a game in 3 days' time, you take Nonto and Ramazani off for 10 minutes. I don't think that's going to affect it. And I think the positive there outweighs the negative. You're going to win the game against Norwich. They were on the heels. They were done. And then suddenly the momentum changed. Now, I know we've had problems with this before. The Burnley game, he made some bizarre decisions and was just throwing mud against the wall, seeing what stuck. However, there have been moments this season where Leeds have got it really, really, well oiled, and he's done well. The Sunderland game, I thought we were by far the better team, of which with the injuries that we had, I didn't think we'd be able to go up there, pin them back as much as we did, pressurize them as much as we did, be as confident on the ball as what we were. And I think a lot of that was down to Tanaka and Rotho, which you could say are forced changes. Would Farke have changed Ampadu and Gruev? Would Joe Bellingham have got maybe a little bit more joy because Leeds wouldn't have been coming forward at all? So him and the Sunderland midfield could have pushed up, as opposed to them just being a little bit more wary of Tanaka and Rothwell. I think so. I ultimately think Daniel Farke's magic touch, of which I've titled this bit, is sort of 50-50 right now. I think on some areas you can see that Leeds have definitely developed last season. I think us pinning the fullbacks as high up as possible has been really good this season. I think the development of Joel Peru as well, even if it is just off the bench, has been really good to see. And I think you've got to put some credit down to Daniel Farke for that one. Brendan Aronson, the form that he's been in, has to be a lot down to the manager and his man management with the low ebb, the low confidence ebb that he had at Leeds United last time out. And obviously the partnership between Struijk and Rodon seems to be really solid right now. And I think a lot of that has to go to Daniel Farke. However, we need to see consistency when it comes to this guy's substitutions and this guy's tactical decisions for me. And we'll have to wait and see throughout the season if that is a thing. So for me, a lot of this is immediate. You look at the upcoming fixtures. So again, sort of the three best teams I think we've faced in West Bromwich Albion, Sunderland, Norwich and Burnley. You can extend that to 4, not 3. We've not won a game. This has to change. We have to start beating the teams in the round. As the good thing is, we've beaten the teams at the bottom. We've not beaten the teams really in the middle yet. Your Millwalls, your Oxfords, your Derbys, etc. We've not beaten the teams in the middle bracket yet consistently, but we have beaten the teams at the bottom, which is good. It's an improvement from last season when it was Birmingham, Rotherham, Sheffield Wednesday, who we were struggling against. But the top teams as well, we'd got some decent results at the start of last season against, obviously, Ipswich being the standout one. So I think that needs to improve. We all know that, but we've got a golden opportunity to improve that against Sheffield United. Now, I don't think they can lose this game. I don't. It's not going to be cataclysmic. It's not going to be catastrophic, but I think, against some of the bigger teams in this division, we know Wilder's got a good record as well against Daniel Farke. Farke needs to come out and the players need to come out and we need to get a good result against Sheffield United. A draw would be the worst result in the world, but no loss on this game. I think, we can rack up some points. We can drag Sheffield United in, who obviously, if they hadn't have had the -2 points, they'd have been 5 points ahead of us right now. We cannot let that points tally increase. We don't want that to get, Sunderland win and we lose against Sheffield United, they get to 6 points, Sunderland, and then 6 points. You don't want that getting to that, because that's already a big lead, no matter what anybody tells you. Now, the January transfer window is going to be massive as well. It's another blueprint to success here when it comes to Leeds United. Who do I think we should be looking at in the window? I've mentioned that on a Patreon article. Make sure you go check that out, everybody. But one of those names could be Daniel Bentley at Wolverhampton Wanderers. When you're looking at a potential challenger to Ilan Meslier, I think you have to look. You have to look at competitors or even replacing him. Do I think that's going to happen? No. But I unfortunately think so far this season, we've seen that this guy been the last line of defence. I don't want to harp on about it too much. He's still prone to too many mistakes. I think we've had 3 indications, 3 problems of which he could have saved Leeds, and he hasn't done that. So we'll park that right now. But for me, there's got to be number 2 competition. Daniel Bentley at Wolves will be really good for that. And I think he'd push the number 1 as well. I think when you look at Melier's deficiencies, I think Daniel Bentley has got way more to his game than someone like Ilan Meslier. So that's what I'll be looking at. There are other keepers out there, of course, who can definitely push him. And I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comment section below. But once again, you might have to look at central midfielders as well, dependent on what's going on right now with Leeds United's defensive capacity. Is that going to harm us? I don't think it will late October in November, because we've got some good games coming up there. And I think our attacking will be the best form of defence in many aspects. But I think in the long run, Leeds do need to be looking at maybe another midfielder there. Does another striker need to come in as well? Let me know in the comment section below. But I think the January window for Leeds United is still going to be big. And I don't care if we won 3 on the bounce. I don't care if we won 4 on the bounce, because as a fan base, I think this fan base gets very, very excited when that happens. And suddenly we don't need players anymore. And then you figure out after January that you've got X, Y, and Z injured. And then it's problem setting. So January is going to be massive for Leeds United. And last but not least, and I don't normally say this, but I think it's mentality. I think the players, what we saw towards the back end of last season, struggled up here. 3 league wins in 11. Obviously, the manager, three wins in 11. Not many managers do survive that, but Farke did, and fair play to him. But the players have got to take accountability for that. And I think a lot of it came down to mentality. I think it swallowed them up last season. Remember the interviews after Leicester where they were maybe getting that sort of that level of which it's like catastrophe theory. Your adrenaline's way too high, and then you're experiencing a dump afterwards, of which they did. And we struggled to get over that line. I think, what 5 wins out of 11 or 6 wins out of 11 would have easily seen us probably in the top 2. So that's how far we fell from getting like 9-10 wins on the bounce. So I think the group needs to be strong mentally, needs to be strong. And that's why January, I think, is going to be massive for Leeds, bringing bodies in. We saw last summer with Ipswich and with Southampton in particular that January was a big month for them. So I think that needs to happen. But as well, the mentality of the fans, it's always very, very strong. But sticking together is always going to be massive. We can critique. There's no room for abuse. But I think Leeds United's 12th man is always the fans. I think Ellen Road and us making that a fortress, which I think it will be this season, will, like we saw last season when we only lost twice, I think it was at home, or once or twice, Southampton and Blackburn. That will be a big, big problem for many teams. And yeah, if we can carry on a similar sort of vein of home form to last season, I think that's going to be absolutely gargantuan for the club. So there you have it, everyone. That is my blueprint for Leeds United getting promoted. And do I think we will get promoted? I do. I think we're going to get these injuries back. Hopefully Solomon comes back, gives us something a little bit different. Aaronson, if he's out of form, Willie Gnonto goes into the number 10. The big thing that we have above many other clubs is the quality and depth, which hopefully we can develop on in January. The defensive partnership of Struijk and Rodon is massive. And if we can keep that together for the sort of level of the season, get Verba back as a backup, which I think will happen in post-January. We're able to do something with Ampadu and Gruev in terms of maybe a little bit of a replacement there, but we see Tanaka and Rothwell really thrive, and one gains a little bit more of a defensive role than the other, yin and yang. I think promotion is going to be there for Leeds United. There's going to be still a lot of frustration. I still think there needs to be maybe a goalkeeper change as well, but the partnerships, the strengthening in January, the mentality, I think that will all be much better this year after what we learned last year. Similar to what happened with Bielsa when in the second season we did what we did, but we do have to turn around those 4 wins out of 9 into 6-7 wins out of 9 in the next 9 or 10 games. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you have any other thoughts? Really interested to hear what your opinions are on this one. Am I too far from the truth? Do you think I'm being a little bit deluded, or do you think I'm being a little bit negative with certain things? Let me know on the blueprint. And guys, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we will see you in a bit.